Sherry Wilder is a high school teacher from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Amy Amazich, originally from Wyoming, holds the rank of Lieutenant Colonel, retired from the United States Army. Kathy Fair of Decatur, Alabama, is a registered nurse. Hawaiian Jackie Pung is a grandmother, 6 times. German-born Gerda Boykin describes herself as a housewife and mother. And Althea Gibson Darvin has been rated one of the top tennis pros of all time. What do these 6 women have in common? Their game is golf. Contrary to popular belief, the ladies are not newcomers to the game of golf. They've been active participants ever since the game was originated in Western Europe, somewhere around the Middle Ages. In fact, during the 15th century, Queen Mary was publicly censured by Parliament for immodestly pursuing the sport at St. Andrews. But male disapproval hasn't kept the ladies off the links. It's true that today men still monopolize the sport. Out of approximately 10 million golfers in the United States, only 2.5 million are women. But ladies' golf is growing in popularity. And much of the credit for this growth goes to the LPGA, the Ladies Professional Golf Association. The association started in 1951 with only 11 members. It now boasts a membership of approximately 70 touring pros and another 130 or more teaching pros. Through their tournaments and clinics, these women do an impressive job of promoting ladies' golf and lady golfers around the world.
To start out, what we have today are several of the girls that have been selected on the Golf World All-Star team. Now, how many hook the golf ball?
Not me.
How many hooks the golf ball is? Put it in. That's where the ball goes from right to left. And how many slides? This is where the ball spins left to right.
Perhaps no one knows the history of the LPGA better than Betsy Ross, past president and unofficial historian for the association.
Well, I've been around throughout most of the history of the LPGA, having turned pro in 1951, which is the year that the LPGA was chartered. Now, life was very exciting on the tour back in those days. We only had probably 15 or 18 tournaments, and we only had 12 or 15 people playing in those tournaments. But the golfers then were as good as the golfers now, and probably a little more colorful. The dominant one back in the early 50s was Sandra Harris. She was the most colorful golfer we've ever had on the tour, and I think probably has done as much for the tour as anybody. She and Patty Berg, I would say. And that was the great rivalry back then, Patty Berg and Sandra Harris. They seemed to fight it out on many occasions, and incidentally were the best of friends. But we started off, and we played for, $3,500 in a tournament, or $5,000 in a tournament. The winner would take home maybe $700. But really the big thing was the satisfaction of playing well. The players did not seem to be too interested in money, probably because there was not a whole lot to be made. But the satisfaction of winning a tournament and the satisfaction of playing well was the big thing. And I think the players then maybe were just a little more dedicated to golf than they are now. They worked hard, and they didn't care how tough a golf course was or how bad the weather was. They'd go out, and if they played well, that's really the only thing that they wanted, to have good scores or to win tournaments. Now things have changed a lot, of course. We have, maybe between 25 and 30 tournaments a year. We have the big $60,000 tournament this year, and I'm sure we'll get many more in that range. And then this year we'll probably play for maybe $500,000 in prize money. I think that the main thing that getting a lot of prize money does is it brings out all the good players, and that's what we want.
On the surface, a career in ladies' professional golf looks as though it would be filled with glamour and excitement. And perhaps for the few that manage to make the top and stay there a while, it may be. But once a woman joins the tour, she commits herself to traveling most of the year, living out of suitcases, grabbing meals on the run, playing golf in all kinds of weather, with a physical and mental exertion that often leaves her totally exhausted. What prompts a young woman to choose such a demanding career? For Shirley Englehorn, who set an LPGA record by winning 4 consecutive tournaments in one season, the decision came at a very early age.
I think golf has been my first love for as far back as I can remember. I was pretty young when I first became interested in it. There was a 9-hole golf course out behind our home in Caldwell, Idaho, and I used to watch people play. When I was 9, I started in a junior recreation golf program. From that time on, there was no doubt in my mind I was going to be a professional golfer. In high school, I played on the boys' golf team. I don't think the boys were too happy about the idea at first, but once I proved to them that I could play well, everything worked out fine. When the team went out of town, my father used to travel with me. He's really a great man. In fact, my whole family's been just great. They made an awful lot of sacrifices for me so that I could play golf. That's why I really feel that the victories I had in those days belonged as much to them as to me. I was only 17 and a half when I turned professional and moved to California. It was an exciting move for me, but I know it took a lot of courage and faith in me for my parents to let me go. In the early days when I went on tour, I traveled by car. It was a matter of economics as well as convenience. But with the increasing number of tournaments every year, many scheduled back-to-back at opposite ends of the country, and my commitments for personal appearances, I fly most of the time now. Last year, I flew about 30,000 miles. The most difficult part of flying is watching my golf clubs disappear on that conveyor belt. I figure that in the past 10 years, my clubs have been worth about $150,000 in prize money to me. I've spent long hours working on them, getting them balanced just the way I want them. If they're lost, well, it would probably cost me more than one tournament. One of the great things about being connected with the LPGA Tour is a wonderful feeling of comradeship we share. We get along tremendously well. If someone needs to be picked up at the airport, or if one of the girls needs someone to share expenses with during a tournament, the other members are always ready to help out. For a young beginner on the tour, sometimes this kind of help makes the difference between being able to play and not being able to play in a tournament. Packing gets to be a real problem on the tour. There are so many things you have to take along. I always take a wig with me because my hair really takes a beating out on the course, and there isn't always time for the beauty parlor. As far as clothes are concerned, I probably sound like I'm going on a world tour instead of a 3-day golf tournament. But a lady golfer must be prepared for anything. That's why I pack 6 pairs of golf shoes, 6 pairs of street shoes, 7 sweaters, 10 blouses, 12 skirts, 1 raincoat, 6 pairs of slacks, 10 pairs of stockings, 14 pairs of socks, and, of course, my golf club. And with all the social activities connected with our tournaments, I always pack at least 2 or 3 cocktail dresses or formal outfits. I wouldn't be honest if I said I didn't like the glamorous side of golf tournaments, the banquets and parties. But like any professional athlete, a golfer must be in top shape physically and mentally for tournament competition. Sometimes it's hard to leave a party early so you can get a good night's sleep. But when golf is your livelihood and not just a game, you learn that kind of discipline. When you spend as much time on the course as we do, you also learn to find ways to relax, away from golf. Some of the girls paint or sew. Mary Mill's hobby is photography. I know Carol Mann loves music. But for me, relaxing means fishing. Freshwater fishing, saltwater fishing, it doesn't matter. Just give me a rod and reel and a place to fish, and I'm happy. There's no time to think about fishing when I'm getting ready for a tournament. No matter how many times you've played a course, it's important to become familiar with it again. I like to walk the course at night or early in the morning when there are no players around. It helps me put myself in the right frame of mind. Competitive golf takes a tremendous amount of concentration. I try to wipe everything from my mind except the course and the strategy I'm going to use. The best golfers I've known play both the course and their opponents. Louise Suggs, one of the really great lady golfers, had that ability. If you hit your ball near the cup, she'd knock hers inside of yours. Patty Bird can do the same thing. You have to learn to pace yourself in golf. I was told that when I was very young, and I try, but it's hard for me. I'm very aggressive. I like to get things done, and I get impatient with myself. Control is something I have to work at constantly. Now, Arnold Palmer is an aggressive player. He really attacks his game. But he is a tremendously powerful man and has a great reserve of strength to pull from. If a woman attacks her game like Arnold does, she wears herself out. Then when it comes time for her to slow her pace for that important putt, she just doesn't have any reserve energy to pull from. And believe me, the kind of concentration you need for a good short game requires a lot of energy. But even if we don't have the power and the strength the men have, I think our game is just as exciting to watch. Arnold Palmer agrees with me.
Well, I certainly feel that there is a place for women's professional golf in the United States today, and certainly the excitement it provides is very interesting. I also feel that the gals, as time goes on, will find their tour increasing not only in interest, but the volume of the tournaments, the amount of money they're playing for, and so forth, will also increase simply because golf has become so popular with the ladies in the United States.
Arnold Palmer and many other leading men golfers agree that the male amateur can learn a lot about the game from the lady professionals. The girls can give the men a lot of tips on improving not only their short game, but their long game, too. For example, the ladies have learned to compensate for their lack of strength and weight by using a longer arc in their swing. The same trick could work well for the Sunday or occasional male golfer who doesn't spend enough time at the game to develop the kind of power a professional athlete brings to the course. Evidently, the men are beginning to understand this, because more and more of them are turning out for the ladies' tournaments. Although the girls are flattered by this masculine attention, they're more impressed by the increasing number of women who are beginning to follow their tour. After all, their game really is for the ladies. One thing is certain. The popularity of ladies' professional golf is growing. The crowds love to watch tiny Sandra Palmer in action. Only 5'1½", Sandra is one of the best shot makers in the game. On the other end of the spectrum, there's Carol Mann. At 6'3", Carol is a lot of girl and a real favorite with the fans. Many people consider her one of the greatest golfers ever to play the LPGA Tour. Then there's Pam Barnett, a very attractive young lady from Charlotte, North Carolina. Pam has a lot of style and a good future in ladies' golf. Althea Gibson Darvin is probably one of the outstanding tennis stars of all time. She turned to professional golf in 1963 and has made a good showing for herself. Althea's athletic skill and her marvelous sense of humor have endeared her to both golf fans and the girls on the tour. Sandra Haney is another sharp competitor. She's an exciting player to watch and has one of the finest swings on the tour. Betsy Ross is still a formidable competitor after 20 years on the circuit, on the green and in the water. She says she wants to play golf until she's 80, and the girls who compete against her agree that she'll probably make it. Something most people don't know about Betsy is that she graduated from the University of Texas Phi Beta Kappa. Kathy Whitworth has been one of the leading money winners on the tour. Since 1958, Kathy has won more than $250,000 playing tournament golf. She won close to $50,000 in 1 year. But it takes a lot of winning to come home with that kind of money on the LPGA Tour. For the majority of the girls, the expenses of playing professional golf add up to more than the rewards. It's been estimated that it costs somewhere between $10,000 and $12,000 a year to play the tour. Out of more than 70 girls who competed last year, only the top 17 made enough money to break even. Joanne Gunderson Carner was one of the lucky ones her first year on the tour. After a very successful amateur career, this talented long hitter finished up in 11th place to win the title of Rookie of the Year. In purses, she earned over $14,000. But even this figure isn't very impressive when you deduct her touring expenses. Joanne supplemented her golf winnings, like many of the girls do, by teaching golf. More and more clubs around the country are adding women to their teaching staffs. They've come to recognize the fact that the ladies can teach women better than the men because they understand the physical aspect of their game. And most of the time, they have more patience with the ladies than the men do. Chris Rupasky is another promising newcomer, but officially, Chris earned only $257.50 her first year on the tour. Chris helps to pay her way by working in a pro shop off-season. Of course, once a girl develops a good game and builds a name for herself, there are many ways she can turn her golfing ability into income. Most of the top professional players are sponsored by companies with an interest in golf or sports in general.
I've been very fortunate in my association with Sears. As a member of Sears Sports Advisory Staff, I'm actively involved in sports fashions and in the development and testing of equipment.
I think for golf jean, this is a suggestion. If you have a snap here that it attaches to the short and also here, so it will not flip and waver in the wind because that would be kind of hard to go. Do you like our shoe, Jane?
Oh, I think it's handsome from a fashion point of view.
It's got some good colors in it, and I believe this time we've designed a golf shoe. In the last 7 years we've had problems because the vamp in the arch has been very long for a lady, and it's been very high in the back of the heel, so it's been sliding up and down. So we've cut it down and shortened the vamp and made a very fine golf shoe with a rubber sole and carbide cleats that never wear out. We've got something very light and yet very durable.
Especially for women.
Golf has really changed today, and so has golf equipment. Today, the manufacturer is now catering to lady golfers. We now have all different colored wood heads and different colored grips. So everything's available now in different shafts with light steel and aluminum to make the golf club swing easier. There are great players like Patty Bird, the Dean of Ladies Golf, and Betsy Ross and Mickey Wright, who have played well for many, many years. But I've talked with Betsy and Mickey and others, and the consensus of opinion seems to be that a professional lady golfer reaches her peak between the ages of 28 and 31. I feel that I'm in my peak years right now. Oh, I think I'll be playing golf and winning tournaments for the next 5 or 10 years if I keep myself in shape. But I mean right now, within the next couple years, is when I should be playing my best. The future of ladies' professional golf really depends on the young pros that are now just getting started. Players like Chris Rupasky. Chris needs playing experience, but she's a real student of the game and works hard at it. Janet Capone, following in the footsteps of her sister Donna, shows real promise. She has an excellent short game and continues to improve with practice and work. The future also lies in the hands of some of the young amateurs who are now coming up. Youngsters like Stephanie Kippel, who at the age of 15 had already proven her skill on the course. Stephanie is a natural athlete. Her ability was apparent the first time she picked up a golf club.
I was watching some of the kids and this instructor down at the range one day hitting some golf balls, and so the instructor said, come over here, Stephanie, and swing at it. So I got up and I hit a golf ball, and he was really amazed, and that was the first time I'd ever held a golf club before, and I wasn't exactly really perfect, but I did all right, and he was really shocked. I liked the competition, and, well, I like the outdoors, and I don't like being indoors.
A love of the outdoors, a strong desire to compete. I guess these are the things that have motivated most of us who have gone into ladies' professional golf. Although we work as hard on our game as the men do, our tournaments haven't had the pull or the commercial value that has built the men's purses to astronomical figures. Our small purses have probably kept some potentially good lady golfers from turning professional. But now I think we are on the threshold of a brand new era for ladies' professional golf. I think the new era began at Port St. Lucie, Florida, with the first LPGA tournament of the 1971 tour, the Sears Women's World Classic. For the first time in the history of the LPGA, the money made news. A purse of $60,000, the most ever offered, attracted professional golfers from as far away as Hawaii. I started the morning with my usual tournament breakfast, a dish of chocolate ice cream, followed by a broiled hamburger. The ice cream seems to calm the butterflies in my stomach, and the hamburger, well, that's the protein I need for energy. I know it probably sounds crazy, but it works for me. 68 of us teed off that day, and for 2 days we played against the course, each other, and the wind. Going into the third and final day, when the wind died down, Sandra Palmer was leading the field by 3 strokes. But Sandy got into trouble at the end of the 8th hole, where she dropped 2 strokes to even par. By the 9th, she had double bogey. Ruth Jessen, playing just ahead of Sandra Palmer, moved into the spotlight. As much as I think each of us wanted to win, I think every girl in the tournament was rooting for Ruth. This tournament was a comeback for her. For the past 7 years, Ruth had been sidelined with one serious illness after another. We all knew how much courage it took for her to get back on the course and into the pressures of competition again. But you couldn't tell from Ruth playing that day that there had been anything wrong. She looked great out there. Beginning on the 13th hole, Ruth used her magic putter to drop 4 good putts and take the lead. From then on, it was her tournament. Although Sandra Palmer was looking for a win, she wasn't exactly unhappy with her second prize check for $6,120. After all, it was larger than the first prize purse of any LPGA tournament in the past. Betty Burfine was feeling pretty good about the tournament, too. She had landed a tee shot only 10 inches from the cup on the 3rd hole to win a full-length mink coat. But the happiest girl that day had to be Ruth Jessen. When Ruth stepped up to collect her first prize check for $10,000, we all cheered. As far as I'm concerned, it couldn't have gone to a nicer gal.
Ooh, you all want to see this? This is beautiful.
For the winner, there are a million questions. But the sports writers and the TV commentators don't ask the losers what happened back there on the 16th hole. And because they're professionals, the girls that finish out of the money don't offer excuses. There isn't time to look back. Tomorrow's another day. Next week, another tournament. Another 18-hole challenge. Long grass and short grass, wind and water. Another grueling 5 hours of solid concentration to prime themselves for. Tonight, they'll celebrate with the winner and talk about the good shots and keep their own personal frustration and disappointment tucked away inside them. But tomorrow, they'll be on their way, ready to try again for that big win, because their game is golf.